The best way that you can help your aim is utilizing your D and A strafe. On controller, this is just moving your stick to the right or to the left. And when you do this, you only have to take into account for vertical up and down recoil. And then you just have to practice in the range, moving your mouse or your stick in the opposite direction that you're strafing. So if you're strafing to the right, D, you want to move your mouse to the left, like a diagonal to the left movement. And it's different for different guns. Some guns have higher kick than others, so you don't have to pull down as much. Some you have to pull down a lot more. You just have to experiment. A lot of the SMGs, you don't really have to pull down hardly any, so it's mostly just staying on target and moving left and right, and that essentially gets rid of all the recoil just by doing this strafe. But that being said, you don't want to just fully do this, because that makes you an easy target, right? It's like shooting bots, like they just move solely to the left and to the right. So the best way to utilize this without being beamed is I will usually position myself so that I'm the first person to shoot, and say I'm behind this cover, right? And I come out of cover and I'm moving left. Well, when I move left, I'm doing that left strafe that reduces recoil. As soon as I come out of cover, I'm shooting, and while I'm shooting, I'll be halfway through my clip. I'm gonna go back to cover, so I'm just changing direction and holding D and moving back into cover. So it's like I'm out in the open just doing this, right? But I'm doing it behind cover, so I take less damage. If you're out in the open and you're about to reload, you know you're about to run out and you have the timing down. If you hold back or press S on PC, this works for PC too, and you reload and slide, you will become a much harder target to hit than if you were to just walk in any direction or whatever. So you're gonna move back, reload, jump, and slide all at the same time, right? See how your player model is essentially all the way on the ground for about half a second? A lot of people are going to try to shoot in here, and you're going to be on the ground, and they're going to whiff a few bullets when you do that. You're essentially doing the Matrix dodge when you do that. That makes you a much harder target. You can also do that to the side, and that can help as well. A lot of the time, it'll be harder to hit. It just depends on the situation. You can do this in any direction. I just normally find that I do it backwards, because you're usually moving off of cover, right? And then you're in a position where you're like, I shouldn't be here. You just move back. And I know a lot of controller players can't tap strafe, but you tap strafe out of it, it will get you back into cover a lot quicker. Okay, so if we're putting it all together, we're using A, D strafes out of cover to reduce recoil. When we're out in the open, we move back, slide back, tap strafe back into cover. This is what it would look like. That is basically it for SMGs. I can show off that a lot of people still don't utilize hipfire, and I honestly do not know why. You literally can use your hipfire to kill all three of these targets, and you can practice just AD strafe and use hipfire. Hipfire is like insane, and I have no idea why people don't use it, because when you ADS, they have reduced the speed that you move. You're a much easier target ADSing, but if you're in this range, just hipfire and you move a lot faster, you're much harder to hit. You see, like, it's about the same as aiming down sight. The tip I would give to you is if you're struggling with hitting all those shots, towards the end of the clip, when you fire SMGs, they start to get sporadic. So I will usually hit fire the first half, and then aim down sight for the second half. And your shots will be a lot more accurate that way. A lot of people will struggle mostly on the aim, and I'll probably continue talking about this when I move on to things like assault rifles and LMGs. But when you fire at a target, people stare too much at their dot that they have on the screen. You should not be looking at this. You should be looking at the target. Look past. You're almost using this here. It's being blurred out, and you're not looking at that as a reference to what you're shooting. Imagine using a gun that is a laser, like the old charge rifle, and you want to hit that beam consistently on target while you're strafing, right? You're not looking at this, you're looking at the target. You're keeping the target in the middle of your screen. This is why a lot of the people that talk about like pay to win skins, for the most part, I will say for some guns, it can help. It does not necessarily make your aim automatically better. It can help if you just can't see. Like, I think the biggest component would be the car. There's so much in the way. As you see your target strafing left and right, you can lose your whole target on the right side here, and you just cannot see them, so you lose track of them. But people will talk about like the R9 having that circle sight. I don't think that's that big of an issue. The pay to win wingman, for example, is kind of the same as the issue of the car. Like, it's so wide that you'll lose your target sometimes. But is it really going to make your aim better? Not really. And for the most part, you should be tracking your target, not staring at this model here. So if your tracking is really bad, it's not going to automatically make it better just because you have a better skin. Okay, so we're going to move on to assault rifles, and I'm going to start by saying stop using old meta guns. I love the flatline, I really do. But for the sake of the video, if you are going to use an assault rifle, which I really wouldn't recommend, if you're going to use an assault rifle with the way that meta plays, the only one I would use is 301. And even then I wouldn't use it, because if you want to absolutely destroy people, the Nemesis is probably the best option for assault rifles right now. But for future reference, if assault rifles become meta again, you still want to utilize AD strafing. It's still going to help you, right? The exception to this rule is if you are playing Rampart, for example. You can't strafe a whole lot. You can still do it, and it will help. But this is where a lot of people that are on PC will kind of have a little bit of an advantage, because jitter aiming you can do on console, it's just much harder to do. And granted, controller players are probably not going to play at range. They're going to find a way to get up close. But sometimes in situations you just have to shoot from far away if you're playing ranked or whatever. So a lot of people still don't understand how to jitter. The best way that I can explain it is there is different recoil because of the fire rate on different guns. So you have a 301 that fires faster than a flatline, right? So bullets are coming out of the gun much faster, so you have to jitter faster than you do with the flatline. think a lot of people kind of give up on trying to learn this because they don't use slower firing guns like the Flatline. You could use Flatline, move up to Havoc, and then move to 301 if you're having trouble. Because with the Flatline, you just move in a circle and you're not the best at it, you will eventually get down to the point where it's staying roughly in this area. See, with 301, you just have to move it much faster. I think the misconception is you don't always have to jitter. Like, if they're at this range, I'm not jittering. I'm just following my target. They have to be, I don't know, somewhere around 65 to 70 meters away for you to really need to jitter. Why I think assault rifles shouldn't even be used, other than what I was saying, the Nemesis being the exception and maybe the Hemlock. You have guns that are just better than your assault rifle counterpart right now. You get almost double the ammo with the same stats, essentially. Like, you need to use the Spitfire if you like 301. Why? Because you have double the ammo before you have to reload, and it fires essentially the same. It fires slightly slower, that's it. But if you play Rampart, you can reload this so fast you can just spray bullets. You can miss this many bullets and still kill a target. It's just absurd. Not to mention the counterpart to Flatline being Rampage. Once again, having more ammo. You can put a barrel stabilizer on it. You can get a thermite, which is very easy to get because nobody carries thermites from my experience, so they're always laying around. And once you charge up, you delete people. You can delete a whole squad with one mag of the Rampage. It is insanely overpowered. I am partially glad people have not caught on to it, because these two guns with a Rampart that is good at the game is an issue. It is a issue right now. I'm just waiting for people to realize that. This, with a Fuse and a Watson, maybe, it is like one of the hardest teams to kill, in my opinion. A lot of people would say, oh, just Horizon ult and make sure that the Watson doesn't have an ult. But I strongly disagree. When you have this, you go up a Q, which has been nerfed on the speed now. You can just, and you're dead, you know? It is ridiculously overpowered. Maybe in another video I'll talk about team compositions I think are being slept on. So there is always an exception to the rule, but when it comes to shotguns, if you're trying to climb in ranked, I wouldn't recommend using shotguns for the most part, because there's a lot of instances where you can't get closer than around this area to your target. You can't move in to kill them. You can use it early game, but not so much mid to late game. So I will say it is very strong early game, where everybody has usually white shield or blue and below. Not a lot of people are going to have purple or reds. But I do have another guide if you are curious on how to hit PK shots better. I just thought I'd leave that out of this video, considering the way the meta is at this moment. I would recommend, if you like using shotguns, to get good with a wingman, because it is essentially like a long-range shotgun in the way that you use it. You can still use it at close range, but you can back up a little bit further and still utilize that big burst damage that the shotgun provides. Okay, I'm gonna quickly go over care package guns, because for the most part people already know how to use these. However, occasionally I'll see people that will not pick up certain guns because they're not good with them or they miss too much. Like Kraber, for example, is an extremely strong gun that I see people just leave because they can't hit shots, I guess. A lot of the missed shots I see with Kraber is just indecisiveness and not utilizing it in, you know, more casual type scenarios so that they can practice. Like go into pubs and just go after care packages and practice with them. That way when you're in ranked, you don't have to worry about missing a lot or whatnot. But yeah, coming back to the Kraber, a lot of people that use Kraber, they'll be staring at their target for forever so that they can line up the perfect shot. So I'm lining it up, and I think he's going one direction, and then I fire the shot and I may hit, maybe, but most of the time people will miss doing this. They're focused so much on lining up the shot that they whiff, and they do that for like an entire mag because you're lining up the shot too much. You need to be more confident with the Kraber shots that you take than careful, because a lot of the time that will make people miss, especially with me. If I do that, I'm like trying to line up the shot really well. Just take the shot. Like you see the guy, take the shot. Oh, I missed. Oh no. Do it again. I hit that one. Sometimes you do have to pause for a split second to see if they're going to change direction. That's fine. The issue is where you're watching a guy and you're watching him and you're trying to understand his strafe pattern, and you think you understand it, but when you go to shoot, when you think you understand it, he'll change direction on you, and all that focus is just wasted potential for taking a shot. Sometimes you just have to take a prediction and hope that it's right. It's okay if you miss occasionally. It's just part of shooting your gun in the game. I think a lot of people are so worried about missing that they like overthink aiming. Like, I know if somebody strafes to the edge of this and they're not going to jump off, they're going to strafe back. So when he comes to this side, I'm just going to line up my cursor to the left side, right? And just wait for him to move back and fire. I'm not going to sit here and try to predict what his strafe is. Like if he's going to the edge and he's going to come back, I'll just wait for him. You can also wait for targets to move into your cursor. That may help too. I also see people, I understand that this is a sniper and that's what you think it is, but this is also a close range shotgun that a lot of people don't utilize. It is extremely useful as a shotgun. Like, you see how useful that is? This is why anytime you pick up a Kraber, you want to drop your shotgun. This is a shotgun. Okay, moving on to the bow. I understand why people don't normally pick up the bow. I normally don't pick it up because I don't really care to use it, because it's just as good as, you know, using Spitfire, in my opinion. It's kind of hard to hit targets that know how to move in the game. But if you practice your aim and you're playing ranked and you don't have the best attachments, this is a solid choice for mid to long range. A lot of the time it only takes about 3 to 4 shots on target to down somebody, and I don't really care for it at close range, but if you are somehow a god with using it at close range, it is about the same amount of shots. Now the Prowler is something that you should definitely pick up to replace either your shotgun or your close range weapon. It is insanely overpowered, and I do not understand people that don't take the Prowler out of the care package. This has probably the best hipfire in the game. I almost never aim down sight with this gun unless I'm far away or I'm trying to utilize the digi. Because when I'm in a gunfight, I barely have to aim. This gun is a laser. Why people pass this up, I will never understand. But yeah, how good is the hipfire, you may ask? Well, let's see. This target is 30 meters away. What is aiming with Prowler? Who knows? Yeah. So, if you have ever passed up the Prowler, stop. Stop it. Get some help. If you are on PC and you're passing up the L star, and you don't know how to jitter aim, learn to jitter aim, then come pick up this gun. Because once you learn to jitter, I mean, need I say more? Also, a great way to practice your Kraber shot is to use Sentinel more, because the Sentinel and the Kraber essentially are the same gun. One just does less damage.